Good afternoon, traders. It is Wednesday, September 30th, 2015. The U.S. stock market is closed. Hey, the Dow gained 135 points today. 235 points. I called it up yesterday. It certainly went up with 235 points. If you can believe it, I had a crappy day. I can't believe it. I'll explain this in a little bit. But anyway, let's just look at the Dow. As I say, it really blasted off right at the beginning. Sometimes those blasts off right at the beginning can cause problems for us, although they're very nice for our exits usually. And then it pulled back about halfway, looked like almost a 50% retracement here, and then it came back. And actually, if I look at this close here, it's closing pretty darn close to its high. And I debated whether I should call this down or up tomorrow. Initially, I was so ticked off after what happened to me with my own trading that I felt like I just wanted to call it down because it's a weak market, it's crappy, it's not doing what I want, etc., etc., etc. But really, looking at this, I have to say, it looks almost like we got bull spikes here and here, midday here. I got to call it up. I'm going to call it down up for tomorrow, in spite of what happened. I'll show you what happened. I'll get the worst out of the way. I mean, I have a hard time even looking at this chart. I'm going to show you. This is in Tantech. 2 weeks ago, we got butchered in Advaxis. And at the time, I took what we call a day of entry stop was hit. It cost us $15,000. And I told you at the time, I can't even remember the last time a day of entry stop got hit. After we got hit in Advaxis, I think it could have been a year. It could have even been more than a year. It just never happens. And so I don't worry too much about these day of entry stops, but they're programmed into the system. Every trade has a stop, even on day of entry. Well, today, something happened with Tantech. We got into it on this pop. And not only that, this is fairly on into the day. It's not just some pop in the opening range pop. I mean, this is like third hour of the day. We get into a breakout, and then something happens here, and it sells off like insane, and we end up taking an $11,000 loss on a day of entry stop. And hey, there's not much you can do about the day after you take one of those. That's all I can say. All I can say, this is rare. This is very rare. It doesn't happen, but it happened today. And as a result of that $11,000 day thrown into what was otherwise good exits, we have a $3,600 loss for our closeout trades today. And then we had some trouble with our new entry, so we're carrying negative 2,100 going into tomorrow. So that's pretty bad, even though the total is like a little over $5,000 negative. That's not too bad of a day, but up for a day when the Dow goes up 235 points, that's a bad day. And what's really got me is I trade managed accounts also, and I trade my managed accounts a slightly different system than what I trade on my own money, and the managed accounts didn't get into this. They managed the stop was a little bit over this, and they didn't get into it, so managed accounts got out of this just fine. But I sure didn't. I got really slashed. Anyway, we did have some good trades, thank goodness. This was in Beta, and we had gotten into this yesterday midday. We had a big pop up here, you can see. Not the greatest exit, but that still got out with over $5,000 in Beta. Wish I could have just stayed out or got back in, and it did pull back a little, so we're holding a small open trade Lawson Vita, but I think that'll be okay. That looks pretty good. And then I got another one here. Let me see here. I gotta go down here. Yeah, this is in ZNH, China Southern Airlines. These are interesting. We got two China Airlines, and they're wild stocks. Like I say, they do these huge gaps as a result of the trading that takes place in China overnight. Anyway, we got into this thing yesterday, actually closed against us, and then huge gap up this morning, and we're holding almost $4,000 in China Southern Airlines. We're hanging on to that. We have to see what happens tomorrow. Hope it doesn't gap down again. But anyway, that was a real good trade too. So, hey, it's the life of the trader. This is Trader Bob signing off. I'll see you tomorrow on Thursday.